Hey yo, howdy hey y'all, I told you I would bring you the Gyruda deck list after the event was over, and that is exactly what we're gonna do in this video. This deck has some of the most explosive, splashiest plays of any deck I've ever seen. It defeated every single kind of deck and archetype the format has to offer, and it did it in stunning fashion, ending the event in Diamond rank with a 55% win rate, and a total record of 211 wins and 174 losses. Not too bad for a Turbo Mill deck with a 6 CMC commander. Today, I'm going to show you the entire list and how exactly we got there. For those of you that don't want to listen to me babble on about cards here, I am putting the deck list in the description, so you can just read that if you would prefer. But there are a lot of includes that might not make a ton of sense on paper, so that's why I'm going to give you the video and my reasoning breakdowns for why I included them in the deck list. And if you like cringy gaming content and over-the-top reactions, hit that like and subscribe button. Support your boy here, because this is about the only viable retirement plan in this day and age. Alright, without any further ado, we're gonna get right into it here. And the first thing I want to point out is the overall curve of the list, because this is just an insane mana curve. The bulk of the deck is made up of 4 mana value cards, the majority of which are creatures, even mana value creatures, because that's what you need for Gyruda's ability to really maximize its effectiveness. So as you can see, there are 22 cards in the 4 CMC slot, most of which are creatures. So yes, we have this insane curve here. And I think we should start with Gyruda itself, herself, whatever gender this demon kraken is here. Gyruda, Doom of Depths. It is a 4 generic and hybrid mana, blue-black pips, 6 total, for a legendary creature, Demon Kraken, that has Companion. The Companion is totally pointless for this deck, but I'll read it anyway. Your starting deck contains only cards with even mana values, and if it meets this restriction, you can choose it to be your companion. Once per game, pay 3 anytime you cast a sorcery to put your chosen companion into your hand. Utterly pointless for the purpose of this deck, and really any high-powered deck. We're not using the companion requirements for this. When Gyruda enters, each player mills 4 cards, put a creature card with an even mana value from among the milled cards onto the battlefield under your control. And that is exactly why the bulk of our deck is going to be made up in these even mana value creatures, most of them clones, because to make it do its thing, you want as many clone density cards as you can reasonably put into here, so you guarantee Gyruda's gonna hit when you cast it, blink it, copy it, whatever. Alright, starting from the bottom all the way up here, we got Chrome Mox. This is a 0 mana value artifact that is not legal in traditional Brawl. I'm so happy I get to play with a Chrome Mox in the format. Shouldn't be illegal in regular Brawl, to be honest. It's powerful, but it's not any crazier than any of the other cards they enable for Brawl. When this artifact enters, exile non-artifact, non-land card from your hand, add 1 mana of any of the exile card's colors. So you need a lot of ramp for Gyruda. I'll just tell you that now. You need a ton of ramp to get this thing out fast, and then to recast it should it get removed. So this is just part of the ramp package here. Mox Opal, a 0 mana value legendary artifact that has Metalcraft. Add 1 mana of any color. Activate if you control 3 or more artifacts. So you do need 3 or more artifacts to make this work, which I'll probably have in this build. There are a lot of artifacts in here. This can be a dead card if you don't have the 3. Then we got the Ornithopter, one of the most cracked cards ever made. I know it looks real innocuous here, a 0 mana value flying 0/2. How could that be that broken? But I promise you it absolutely is. This enables some of the grossest turn 1 plays in the format, and I'll explain that combo. With the Ornithopter and the rituals, you can get a turn 1 Gyruda, which I only pulled off one time during the entire event. You have to have a god hand of a hand to make it work. Brainstorm. This is a 1 blue drop instant that will draw you 3 cards, and then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. Very good card. For one, it just draws you 3 cards. Can't go wrong there. But then you can put 2 cards from your hand on your library in any order, so this helps you. It helps minimize the chance of hitting on one of the even mana clones. You can put one of your clones, even mana value creatures, back in the order that will guarantee a Gyruda trigger. Essence Flux. This is a 1 blue pip instant. Exile target creature you control and return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If it's a spirit, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Spirit, the counter is pointless. Don't need the counter. This is basically just another cheap way to enable a Gyruda trigger. You exile Gyruda, it blinks back in, does the thing, but it also acts as protection too. So if your Gyruda gets targeted by anything on your opponent's turn, you cast the Essence Flux, you exile it, they're targeted, removal fizzles, and you get a Gyruda trigger too. So it's really a very powerful kind of judo-esque move where you take their game action and kind of use it against them to enable a crazy Gyruda sequence on their turn. Very frustrating. You go to remove something and then you just end up fizzling, and then Gyruda gets even more value onto the battlefield. Very good card. Mystic Remora, 1 blue drop enchantment that has cumulative upkeep. You got to pay the upkeep on your turn, or else you got to sack it. When an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays for it. Very known staple for high-powered decks, especially in CDH, because you're going to have people playing a lot of 0 mana artifacts, just like we have in our deck, a lot of ramps, signets, and that stuff. So this card is very good. It's drawn me anywhere from at least 1 card all the way up to like 3 or 4 on turn 1, turn 2. So, Mystical Tutor. This is a 1 blue drop instant. Search your library for an instant or sorcery, reveal it, shuffle, put that card on top. Most of the time I'm using this to go get like a Force of Will or a River's Rebuke, something that will either protect Gyruda or just in the game from like a one-sided board wipe. You're going to see a lot of tutors at the higher bracket levels. Ponder, another 1 blue drop sorcery this time. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order. You may shuffle, draw a card. Again, a very similar effect to Brainstorm. You get to look at the top 3 cards, put them back in any order, draw a card, so you can, order them to get your land that you need, or you can order them to guarantee a Gyruda to trigger, and then if you whiff on all 3, you can shuffle. Siren Storm Tamer, a 1 blue drop Siren Pirate Wizard that has flying, and if with 1 blue pip and a sacrifice this creature, counter target spell or ability that targets you or a creature you control. Very good card, just more protection for Gyruda to either keep it around, or it also, like, if they target you with a River's Rebuke or, some kind of enchantment, player enchantment, then this will counter that ability. Swan Song, a 1 blue mana instant that counters a target enchantment, instant, or sorcery. Its controller creates a 2/2 blue bird creature token with flying. There's going to be a decent amount of interaction in here. Obviously, you need that for the more powerful cues. But a lot of time, the interaction in this deck is very different than the interaction in Yuriko. Most of the time, I'm using this to protect my board. Protect, you know, Gyruda, board wipe, whatever. So, Swan Song, very good counterspell for only 1 blue pip. Unsummon, 1 blue pip instant, return target creature to its owner's hand. And again, this is usually going to be used on Gyruda. They go to target it. You can unsummon it back to your hand, and then you can just recast it without having to pay commander tax. So, all right, here's the rituals now. Culling the Weak, 1 black pip as an additional cost. Sack a creature, add 4 black pips to your mana pool. And that is probably going to be used with the Thopter. That's where these turn 1 plays get really gross. You sack the Thopter to Culling the Weak. You net 3 black mana since it costs 1 to cast. And then that paired with a Dark Ritual, 1 black pip, add 3 black to your pool. So the turn 1 play goes like this. You play the Thopter, you play a Swamp. You cast Culling the Ritual, sacking the Thopter, you net 3, you get your 4 black mana, and then you use 1 of the black mana to play Dark Ritual, and that will total 6 black mana altogether, enabling you to cast Gyruda on turn 1. I've only pulled it off 1 time. It was amazing, absolutely disgusting, and I loved every second of it. Then we got Entomb. This is a 1 black pip instant. Search your library for a card, put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle. This is used as a combo with Reanimate. 1 black pip, put target creature onto the battlefield under your control, lose life equal to that card's mana value. Usually I'm going to be getting Jin-Gitaxias or Griselbrand. And yes, I know Griselbrand is not legal on tabletop, so without a Rule 0 include, you will have to make an adjustment with this card, and I'll give you some of the honorable mentions that can take the place of Griselbrand. But in Brawl, perfectly legal, so that's probably what we're going to do with the Entomb and Reanimate, either Grisel or Jin-Gitaxias. Alright, Springleaf Drum, 1 mana artifact, tap an untapped creature, add 1 mana of any color. Just more ramp. Ramp for our ramp here, and it's an artifact, so it synergizes with the Mox Opal very early. If you have this, the Opal, Chrome Mox, turn 1, you got a lot of ramp potential. World Map, this is a 1 mana artifact that has pay 1 and sack it, search your library for a basic land, pay 3 and sack it, search your library for a land card, reveal it, put it into your hand. This is basically a way for me to get Ancient Tomb. I usually want to sack this for 3, get my Ancient Tomb, and then just have that 2 mana tap for 2 mana effect off of a land. So, World Map. And it's an artifact, so it synergizes with Mox Opal. Alright, moving into the 2 mana slots here. We got Cyclonic Rift, a complete game changer here. 1 generic blue pip instant, return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand, overload it for 6 and a blue. Very iconic card. You know what this card does if you play the game. Very powerful. That's why it's a game changer. This can end the game for you. I had a crazy clutch play with the Cyclonic Rift and ended up winning the game from casting this on my opponent's turn and just blowing their whole board away to seal the deal. So, very good card. Emporium Thopterist. I know it's an alchemy card. Sue me. But 1 or 2 alchemy cards is not as grievous as, or egregious, I should say, as some of the other alchemy decks that I played against. This one is a 1 generic blue pip creature. Thopters get +2/+0 at the beginning of your upkeep. Conjure a card named Thopter, Ornithopter into your hand. This is mainly just to help negate some of the flyers that I faced. If there's one weakness of the deck as far as creatures go, there's not a ton of flyers. And flying is still very, very powerful in Magic the Gathering. So this just basically makes me a flyer that I can play for free, block flyers, that's pretty much it. It also does enable some of the sack the creature plays like Culling the Weak. So, Emporium Thopterus. Phantasmal Image, our first clone. This is the cheapest clone in the deck. 1 generic blue pip creature illusion. Have this creature enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's an illusion in addition to its other types, and it has when this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, sack it. So it's kind of a weaker-ish clone. You gotta sack it if it becomes the target of a spell or ability. I would prefer this clone in my opening hand because it allows me to copy like the Thopter or the Palladium Mirror, one of these Manador creatures that will get me to Gyruda faster. The old Counterspell, blue, Wild Rose Rebellion. This is the Final Fantasy print here, I believe. An instant counter target spell. You can't beat a classic Counterspell. Very good card, very good protection for Gyruda. Mana Drain, blue, which recently became not legal in Brawl, which it really irritated me. I had this in a lot of decks, but you can play it during the Brawl Rank Challenge, so it had to go in here. Not only is this a counterspell, this also serves as ramp for Gyruda. So if I've got this in my hand, I let my opponent play out their, 3 mana, 4 mana thing, and then we counter it at the beginning of our next main phase, add an amount of colorless mana equal to that spell's mana value. So this is another turn 3 Gyruda enabler, turn 2 maybe even if your opponent has ramped like crazy. Very, very good card, very helpful to get Gyruda online even faster. And here we go, Thassa's Oracle, one of the win cons of the deck. This is a staple of CDH decks here. Blue, Merfolk Wizard. When this creature enters, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is your devotion to blue. Put one of them on top of your library and the rest on the bottom in any order. If X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you win the game. Hooray, we win without doing hardly anything. Very good win con. Not as good on Arena as it is in 4-player Commander CDH because it just kind of takes a little bit. It takes a little too long to get there. But with Gyruda, you keep copying clone after clone after clone. Your devotion can get very high very fast, and then you can, when you get to a certain point that your devotion is what it is, with Thassa on board, you can just play one of the clones to copy Thassa, and then you should get there with your win con. I won with this multiple times in various games. So very good card for Gyruda and just a staple of high-powered blue decks. Bitter Triumph. This is a 1 generic black pip instant. As an additional cost, discard or pay 3 life. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. I use this more for the planeswalker removal. Planeswalkers are so powerful, especially in 1v1. This is an instant, so you can play it on their turn, get rid of Ugin or whatever stupid planeswalker you're facing down. Very good removal. I will say there's not a ton of removal in this. The removal is mostly counterspells, but the way Gyruda's ability works, you don't want a ton of instants and sorceries clogging up the chances of hitting on an even mana value creature. So I would say it's kind of light on removal for a high-powered deck. But you do want something for planeswalkers. They're very hard to deal with, very hard to get rid of. Demonic Tutor! Not legal in Brawl, of course, but it is for the Rank Challenge. Another staple of high-powered decks. For 1 generic black pip, search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, and shuffle. Don't really need to go on a tangent on why this card is good. You can just search your library for any cards you want. You don't even have to reveal it. And a lot of the times with this, I'm going, depending on where we're at in the match, I'm either going for a Ritual if it's early or a Force of Will if it's later. The Dauthi Voidwalker. I love this card. Oh, this card is so maniacal. Black creature that has shadow, which means it can block or be blocked by creatures with shadow. So it's a way to just get in fast damage. It's unlikely your opponent's gonna have much shadow things, unless they got their own Dauthi Voidwalker, but its ability, if a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it with a void counter, sack this creature, choose an exiled card an opponent owns with a void counter on it. You may play it this turn without paying its mana cost. So when Gyruda mills both you and your opponent, it's going to put 4 cards in the graveyard. Dauthi says, wait, no, their cards don't go into the graveyard, they go into exile, which is great to beat like shuffler effects. They got an Ulamog or a shuffler card. It's not ever going to touch the graveyard to shuffle back in, go straight to exile, do not pass go, do not collect $200. In fact, I'll probably be collecting that card by sacking Dauthi, and then I get to cast it without paying its mana cost. Very powerful card. Dimir Signet, 2 mana artifact. Back to our ramp here. This is a 1 generic mana tap to add blue-black. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We just need more ramp to get Rudy out even quicker. Arcane Signet, same thing, 2 generic artifact, add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity, just getting Gyruda out faster. And last, same thing with our Thopter of Paradise, 2 generic flying artifact creature that adds 1 mana of any color. So there's our ramp packages, and you want as many ways to get Gyruda out as fast as possible. Alright, moving into the 3 mana here now. We got Brain Surge. This is an instant for 2 generic blue pip. Draw 4 cards and then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. 3 mana to draw 4 cards, crazy good. Well, maybe not crazy good, but really good. But the 2 cards on top of your library is kind of just as equally good in this deck, because it enables you to like fix the top of your deck to have a better chance at hitting on one of the even mana clones with Gyruda. Fierce Guardianship, another card not legal in traditional Brawl for whatever reason, I don't know. It is 2 and a blue for an instant. If you control a commander, you can cast this without paying his mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell. So again, this is like a way to ensure board protection. One would say to guard your commander, hence the name. Fierce Guardianship. Midnight Clock, more ramp, 2 generic blue pip artifact that adds a blue mana. You can put an hour counter on the artifact for 2 and a blue, and then it adds an hour counter at the beginning of each upkeep. When the 12th hour counter is on the artifact, shuffle your hand and graveyard into your library, then draw 7 cards, exile this artifact. So it has a few different benefits for Gyruda. Number 1 is, if you are close to decking yourself, then this can keep you from decking yourself. But really, it's just to draw me 7 cards. It's to ramp and to draw 7 cards. So I really like seeing this thing early, because I'm probably going to run out of gas with all the rituals, quick mana. So the 12th hour counter hits, and then I get to draw 7 new cards. Rhystic Study! Everybody hates a Rhystic Study. 2 generic blue pip enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, draw a card unless that player pays 1. Staple, again, very good for card draw, kind of a tax effect on your opponent. Flare of Denial, another one of my favorite counterspells. 1 blue instant, sack a non-token blue creature rather than pay the spell's mana cost to counter target spell. You're probably going to have plenty of blue creatures on board with Gyruda, all these blue here. So you could be totally tapped out Sack a non-token blue creature or counter the spell. I use this in Eureka too. The Palladium Mirror. This is a 3 generic mana artifact creature mirror that taps for 2 generic mana. Again, it's just more ramp. All right, moving up to our 4 mana value clones, the bulk of the deck, the good stuff. And first here we have Chameleon, Master of Disguise. This used to be Vazen before they updated the Omen Path set into Spider-Man, but I could care less what it's called. I just wanted to do what it does. And Chameleon can enter as a copy of any creature except his name is Chameleon, Master of Disguise. So since it's a different named clone than Gyruda, you do not have to sack this one to the legendary rule. But you will have to if you copy Chameleon, since Chameleon itself is legendary. So if you clone it, you will have 2 Chameleons. So not as good as like a Sakashima, but a little bit better than just your standard clone. And I believe this is an uncommon too, which is really cool. There's an uncommon clone that you don't have to sack to legendary rule. So Chameleon. And then we got the standard clone, 3 and a blue, creature shapeshifter. You can have this creature enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. The Displacer Kitten, one of the most feared cards in all of Magic, but how? How could it be so scary? It's just a cute little kitty. It's just a little kitty cat. This is a 3 generic blue pip creature cat beast, and it is a beast, let me tell you. It has avoidance. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So this is used to blink Gyruda. So you have the Displacer with Gyruda, and then you cast one of your counter spells, one of your instants. Displacer will blink Gyruda, and then you're just looping the Gyruda thing on your opponent's turns. Very powerful card. One of the best cards. Irenicus Vile Duplication. So this is a sorcery, 3 generic blue pip, creates a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except the token has flying and it isn't legendary. This is kind of useless if it mills into your graveyard without getting it back somehow, which I really don't have a lot of recursion in this deck. It's a turbo deck, so I'm not wasting time with fetching stuff out of the graveyard. But if you do end up drawing it or it's your opening hand, it's very good to use on Gyruda. It will make a copy that's not legendary, so then when you do hit on your other clones, you won't have to sack them to the legendary rule. Micromancer. This is a 3 generic blue pip creature wizard. When this creature enters, search your library for an instant with mana value 1, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And 99% of the time, I'm either going to get Mystical Tutor, Culling the Weak, or Dark Ritual. That is what the purpose of Micromancer is. So helps you get to Gyruda faster, or it goes and fetches the Mystical Tutor to get one of your game closers like a Cyclonic Rift or Force of Will. Mirror Mimic. This is a creature spirit. You can have this creature enter as a copy of any creature except it's a spirit in addition to its other types. It also has Disturbed for 3 blue. And the Disturb is you can cast it from your graveyard for its Disturb cost. So this is pretty helpful here. If the creature ends up dying or you have to sack it to legendary, it will go to your graveyard, but then you'll be able to cast the Disturb from your graveyard to enchant your creature, which will be Gyruda. And then it creates a token that's a copy of enchanted creature, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types, on your upkeep though. So it has to be on your upkeep, has to make it back around after you cast it. But it's basically just a free token copy of Gyruda every single upkeep, which can get pretty out of hand, especially if you enchant like a non-legendary Gyruda or a Sakashima Gyruda, then you get to keep all of those. Phyrexian Metamorph. This is a 3 Phyrexian mana, which means you can either pay 1 blue or 2 life, and then you can have it enter as a copy of any artifact or creature, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Judy Public Servant, the Sakashima of 1,000 Faces, and I really honestly don't like the avatar version of this card because it does not look nearly as ominous as what Sakashima actually is. Look at her. She's happy, smiling. Sakashima is brutal and terrifying. So this print just does not give the card justice. For 3 and a blue, it enters as a copy of another creature you control, except the legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control. So hands down, the best clone in the deck. You clone this, and now you can clone anything you want on the board without having to sack it to the legendary rule, and that's how you end up with 10, 11, 12 Gyrudas. You can also copy some of the other terrifying creatures in here, like Jin, Sheoldred, Spark Double. This is a 3 blue creature illusion. Have this enter as a copy of a creature or planeswalker you control, except it enters with an additional +1. It enters with an additional loyalty counter if it's a planeswalker, and it isn't legendary. The planeswalker, we're not worried about that. I don't think there's a single planeswalker in the deck at all. Just doesn't help the plan. I'm sure you could find use for some, but it kind of just, it's a spot that's taken up another clone, which you want to dedicate as many spots to clones as you can. But more importantly, it becomes a non-legendary creature. So this or Sakashima is the go-to preferred clones to hit on. That way you can keep your clone copying going without sacking them. Because the Spark Double will be a non-legendary copy of Gyruda. Starfield Vocalist. This is a 3 blue creature bard. If a permanent entering causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control, that ability triggers an additional time. So it's a trigger doubler. You have this out, you get 2 Gyruda triggers instead of 1. It also has Warp, which means you can pay its Warp cost and then exile it at the end step. Very helpful because I've warped this out for 2 and then cast a 4 mana clone or Gyruda itself to enable 2 triggers instead of 1. And the more triggers that you get, the more redundancy you're going to have to mill your opponent all the way out. I really like to have 3 triggers going off, and the odds that you're going to hit on a clone in 3 Gyruda triggers, mind you, that's 12 cards getting milled for those 3 triggers. Very likely you're going to hit on a clone, and then as soon as you do, that's 3 more and 3 more, etc., etc. But you have to have a copy of this to get 3. But just by itself, it's a guaranteed 2 Gyruda triggers, and you want that redundant effect as much as possible. Surgical Metamorph, another alchemy card. I know, but this one really doesn't do anything on its own. It does cost 1 less if you're not the starting player, so you can cast it for 3 if you are not the starting. Enter as a copy of any permanent, except it's an artifact addition to its other types. Very powerful, I know, so you can copy your Rhystic with it, your ramp with it, you can copy an artifact with it, whatever. You can even copy a land with it, and I have used it for that. Just if that's all I have in my hand, you copy one of the lands, helps you get up there faster too. Gyruda. Thassa, Deep Dwelling, an indestructible 3 blue pip enchantment creature god. As long as your devotion to blue is less than 5, Thassa isn't a creature. At the beginning of your end step, exile 1 other target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. So it's a blinker. It blinks Gyruda. You hit on this in the midst of a Gyruda trigger, it touches down, and then on your end step, you will get another guaranteed Gyruda trigger because it's going to blink it. So you need a healthy combination of both clones and blinkers because you don't want to run out of Gyruda gas when you whiff or maybe don't get the clone that you want. This just enables the loop to keep going. Visage Bandit, this is 3 and a blue, Shapeshifter Rogue, enters as a copy of a creature you control, except it's a Shapeshifter Rogue in addition to its other types, but you can plot it for 2 and a blue, which plot means you pay the 2 and a blue, you exile it, and then you can cast it as a sorcery on a later turn without paying its cost. So you plot it, and then maybe you play Gyruda, and then you'll get another guaranteed Gyruda trigger by casting this without paying its cost. Waxen Shapethief, 3 and a blue, Shapeshifter, that has flash. You can have this creature enter as a copy of an artifact or creature you control. So again, you can use this to copy one of your signets for ramp if you need it, or ideally you're gonna copy Gyruda once you already have it out. It also has cycling, which can be helpful early. You can discard it to draw a card. It's kind of helpful to keep your cards in hand. Not a ton of ways to keep drawing cards in this deck, because ideally Gyruda's mill is kind of your card draw in a sense. Clever Impersonator, 2 blue. Have this creature enter as a copy of any non-land permanent on the battlefield. Very powerful clone. Any clone that extends beyond just creatures and lets you copy anything on the board is very powerful. And so you could copy a Mana Rock, a Rhystic Study, one of your opponent's things, a Bolas Citadel if they have it. The Copycrook, 2 blue, creature, Shapeshifter Rogue. You can have this creature enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has, whenever this creature attacks, it connives. And the connive is just to draw a card and discard a card. Helpful, but not really the main focus. Just another clone that copies Gyruda. Undercover Operative, 2 blue, Shapeshifter. Creature enter as any copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it enters with a shield counter if you control that creature. And there's actually been a number of times where I have used this to copy Gyruda and then pick it instead of Commander Gyruda because it has that shield counter, which means if it gets dealt damage or destroyed, you just remove the counter instead. So it's a way to just keep Gyruda around for a little bit longer if they have destroy removal. And then by choosing it, you send Gyruda back to the command zone, and if you have the ramp to recast it, then you'll have another guaranteed Gyruda trigger. Tara Bradford, this is Urza, Lord High Artificer. Scary Urza. Urza's so broken. This is Urza, 2 blue, legendary creature. When Tara enters, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact with +1/+1 for each artifact you control. Tap an untapped artifact, add blue. For 5, you can activate it, shuffle your library, exile the top card. Until end of turn, you can play that card without paying its mana cost. Very powerful card, mainly for the ramp in this deck, because it will create the token artifact for 1, but then you can also tap other artifacts you control to add blue. It's kind of a removal bait out too, because this is like a remove on site card, but I'm not really worried about Urza getting removed because I want Gyruda to not get removed. So it's a very good way to ramp, and also as a way to bait out removal. Very good card. Vizier of Many Faces, 2 blue, creature shapeshifter. You can have this creature enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except if it was embalmed, the token has no mana cost, it's white, and it's a zombie in addition to its other type. And embalm is you can pay the embalm cost, exile this card from your graveyard to create a token that's a copy of this card, except it's white, no mana cost, and it's a zombie in addition to its other types. Activate only anytime you could cast a sorcery. So the Embalm is very helpful because let's say you hit on the Rudy triggers and you mill like both a Sakashima and a Vizier of Many Faces. You're going to pick the Sakashima to come in as a copy of Gyruda, but this will also allow you to play it again from your graveyard. So where a lot of the clones, they're back in the yard and there's like nothing you can do about it, this one you can still play from the graveyard. Shieldred the oh, wait a minute. Let me move my face back over. All right. Sheoldred the Apocalypse, terrifying Sheoldred. An absolute banger of a classic. 2 black with Death Touch. Whenever you draw a card, gain 2 life. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. Again, this is a really good card to bait out removal. I've won the game with this card plenty of times. You can copy Sheoldred too. If it's like a later game, you know that they're going to die on their upkeep from the card draw. You copy Sheoldred, and then they just die. But if you get it out early, you can actually cast this on a turn 1 or 2 with the Dark Ritual and the other ritual effects. And then you just play Sheoldred, and the clock has already begun. I noticed that there were times where there was just not a great finisher outlet for Gyruda, and so I put this in here as a way to speed up the clock. You have to act soon, or you're just gonna die to Sheoldred. It also gains you life, and we're paying a lot of life with a lot of cards that we have here. So we mitigate some of that life loss by Sheoldred gaining us life whenever we draw cards. Panharmonicon. This is a 4-mana artifact. If an artifact or creature entering causes a triggered ability, you control the trigger. That ability triggers an additional time. So it's just a Gyruda doubler. It doubles the Gyruda triggers. And like I said, if you have this with the Vocalist and then our Roaming Throne that we're gonna get to next, you're just increasing the redundancy of hitting on a clone for Gyruda. The Roaming Throne, 4-mana value artifact creature with Ward 2. As it enters, choose a type. This is the chosen type in addition to its other types, and if a triggered ability of another creature you control triggers, it triggers an additional time. So you're going to pick Demon or Kraken, and then the Roaming Throne will double that Gyruda trigger. It's also even mana value creature, so you can bring it in off of a Gyruda trigger. Very powerful card, and it has Ward 2, and it's colorless, so I found this very effective against Ugin decks that want to exile things with 1 or more color. Can't target Roaming Throne with that ability since it is indeed colorless. Ward 2, very hard to get rid of from targeting, so if you copy your Roaming Thrones, you have a very stable board setup, and then just more redundancy in additional triggers off of Gyruda. All right, our 1/5 mana value card is a Force of Will. As you can see, odd mana value is just not very important in this deck, other than the 1-drops, which are all ramp and value pieces, card advantage. Odd mana value is just, we're not really all that worried about that. So Force of Will is our one and only, and needless to say, this is one of the most powerful blue cards. 3 generic blue, pay 1 life, exile blue card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost to counter target spell. So again, I'm not really using this as a way to stop my opponent's thing unless I know it's game over if they cast it, or it's game over if I stop it and make it back around to my turn. Most of the time I'm using this to protect Gyruda. Alright, 6 mana value, River's Rebuke, 4 blue sorcery, return all non-land permanents target player controls to their owner's hand. So kind of like a Cyclonic Rift, but a little less good. It's cheaper, but it is a sorcery, so you gotta do it at sorcery speed, but it bounces all of their non-land permanents. I've won so many games with this card. It is a staple of my blue decks. Self-Reflection. This is a 4 blue sorcery. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. But the important thing about this sorcery is it has flashback 3 and a blue. So you can cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost and then exile it. So say you mill this into your graveyard off of one of the Gyruda triggers, you can still play it for flashback. And that was one of the problems I ran into early, was it just mills so many cards. You're kind of just watching your cards disappear into the graveyard ether. And since it's turbo, I don't have a ton of recursion. But this card's really good because not only can you cast it from your graveyard, but it has the exact effect that I want for the deck. Summon Leviathan! This is a 4 blue enchantment creature Leviathan that when it hits, return each creature that is not a Kraken, Leviathan, Merfolk, Octopus, or Serpent to its owner's hand, and then as it increases, until end of turn, whenever a Kraken, Leviathan, Merfolk, Octopus, or Serpent attacks, draw a card. Very good card. Probably more of a... I wouldn't call it an auto-include in a lot of these builds, but I picked this because it's a one-sided board wipe a lot of the time. I've won as many games with this as I have any other win con in the deck, including even Gyruda. So you play this, everything bounces except for the Krakens. Hopefully you already have like 4 or 5 Gyruda clones on the board, and then those will all stay because they are Krakens, and then everything else is just bounced back to its owner's hand. I've also just copied this when I hit on Gyruda, or if I have a clone in hand, and it will just continuously keep the board clear, except for your stuff, and then as it advances into its lore counters, you get to draw cards off of it and Gyruda attacking. So very good card. One-sided board wipes, card advantage, puts a lot of cards into your hand. Y'shtola Cat Mame, the legendary cat druid 4 blue from Final Fantasy. At the beginning of your end step, exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control, and then if it's the first end step of the turn, there is an additional end step after this turn. So gross. It's so disgusting. It's basically a better Thassa. It does cost more for 2 mana, but that 2 mana cost to get an additional blink effect on your end step, more than worth it. Very, very powerful. So you flip into Y'shtola, you're guaranteed to get another 2 Gyruda triggers because you're going to blink Gyruda twice on your end step, and then if you have any of the doublers like Pan, Roaming Throne, the Vocalist, then you see how it exponentially increases. With 1 doubler and Y'shtola, you are going to get 4 Gyruda triggers just from that effect alone. With 2 doublers, you're going to get 6 Gyruda triggers off of Y'shtola's effect alone, and then you start combining that with, if you've copied other thrones, you've copied other vocalists, you have Thassa out as well, you're getting into the 8, 10, 12 range of Gyruda triggers. It is statistically impossible not to hit on a clone once you start getting into double-digit Gyruda triggers. Remember, the bulk of the deck are these clones. It's like 25% of the deck. So you only need a 1 in 4 chance to hit on one of these clones. Very likely to do if you got 4 Gyruda triggers happening on your end step. So Y'shtola, very, very powerful card. And now we got a little bit of a switch up flavor. I mean, I wouldn't say flavor necessarily. It's still very synergistic in the deck, but this is the Massacre Worm, 3 black. When this creature enters, target or creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn, and then whenever a creature an opponent controls die, that player loses 2 life. A game ender, again, kind of the same philosophy as Sheoldred. I wanted things that could close out the game. Otherwise, you're just copying, and then hoping you win by mill, which is not the most sound strategy, even though I did it multiple times. The Massacre Worm just can close out a game the minute that it hits. So your creatures, their creatures will get -2/-2. That obliterates token decks. It's a game ender against token decks. And then when that creature dies, they lose 2 life. But this has an ETB, so if you have Panharmonicon or the Vocalist, since that's a permanent entering, it will trigger that twice. They will get -4/-4 until end of turn. And then you can blink this also with Y'shtola or Thassa, as well as just copy it outright. It's not legendary, so you will not have to sack the copies, and then you're just stacking those effects where the creatures get -6, -8. Basically it's gonna board wipe anything on their side of the board. So very, very powerful card, even mana value, so Gyruda will hit on it. Very good game closer for the deck. Griselbrand, 4 black, 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 black. And no, this card is not legal in Tabletop Commander, and I'll give you my honorable mention to substitute it. But if you can't play a Griselbrand in Brawl, then what's the point of playing Brawl? You gotta have Griselbrand. It's too awesome. This is a legendary demon with flying and lifelink. Pay 7 life, draw 7 cards. So there's times where you get kind of light on cards because you're just milling so much. All your stuff's going into the graveyard. This is an even mana value creature. Gyruda will hit on it and bring it back to the battlefield. Pay the 7 life, draw 7 cards. So there's a few different synergies there. One, we're paying life for some of our effects. It has lifelink. It'll get our life back. And then that ability is just so totally busted. The reason why it is banned, you just draw 7 cards. I will say, though, it's not as good as traditional Commander where you start with 40 life. I mean, you could just abuse this thing by paying 7 life 4 or 5 times and not really worrying about the life loss. In Brawl, you start with 25 life, so 2 activations is kind of getting a little bit risky if you do it right off the flip, but it's still just so powerful that you're probably going to get answers out of those 14 cards that you draw. So, and then with Sheoldred on the field, it actually negates that completely. So you'll gain 2 life for every card that you draw. You activate Griselbrand with Sheoldred out, and you will actually net 7 life by paying 7 life. So totally busted. Completely busted. Draw 7 cards, gain 7 life. For nothing. For no mana. For no cost at all. Very powerful. And since everybody else uses it, I figured I would too. The honorable mention, though, since you can't play this in traditional tabletop, I would swap this out for Arden the Usurper. That is also an 8 mana value creature, so it will hit off Gyruda. I would have put that in this deck had I not figured it out kind of late at the event, and I just didn't want to craft anymore and just wanted to finish out the event. But Arden the Usurper, very, very good with Gyruda. One, because Gyruda itself is a demon, and Arden the Usurper gives your demons haste, menace, and I think lifelink. I can't remember for sure. I'll put it up on the screen when I do the editing. But it will give it haste and menace. So the idea is if you copy all of your Gyrudas, they're demons now, and then you hit on the Usurper, it will give all of those clones that entered on that turn haste. So that's a game closer right there, because it's likely they're not going to have enough stuff to block 4 or 5 6/6 demon krakens that all have menace and haste. So Arden the Usurper, honorable mention. That would be the card that I would use to take the place of Griselbrand if you're playing on tabletop. And then we have the Breaker of Creation. This is a 6 generic 2 colorless creature Eldrazi. When you cast this, you gain 1 life for each colorless permanent you control, hexproof from each color, Annihilator 2. So 1, if you hard cast it, you're gaining life for all your lands, all your artifacts. It's a way to kind of offset some of the pay life effects. It has hexproof from each color, so it can't be the target of spells or abilities that are 1 or more colors. Very hard to get rid of once it sticks. And then the real kicker is the Annihilator 2. If you flip into this early, it is basically a lockout from the game because you're just going to attack with it. You can clone it. It's not legendary, so you don't have to sack it to legendary rule. And then you start attacking with 2 or 3 of these. You stack those Annihilator triggers. They're sacking their entire board. and just never able to get back into the game at all. So kind of a fringe include. You probably wouldn't see this in too many traditional Gyruda decks, but very, very powerful. Even mana value creature. And then we have Jin-Gitaxias, Core Augur. This is an 8 blue, 10 mana creature. Very, very hefty rate here. But it will hit off of a Gyruda trigger since it's even mana value. It has flash, and at the beginning of your end step, draw 7 cards. Each opponent's maximum hand size is reduced by 7. Basically a game ender. If you flip on this early, you're going to draw your 7 on the end step, and then their hand will be reduced by 7 if they do not have a way to get rid of it. It also baits out removal too, because you got to get rid of this thing. This thing cannot stick around, or you will not have any cards, and then your game is done. So even if it gets removed, just insane value off of even one hit, because you're going to draw your 7. And then last, the Dawning Archaic. This is a 10 mana value generic mana legendary creature that costs 1 less for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. I am usually casting this for 0 mana cost by the time that I'm getting it out, if it's in my hand, because it's reduced by your instants and sorceries. It's probably going to end up being 0 mana by the time you cast it if it's in your hand. But it will also hit off of a Gyruda trigger. But the main logic behind this one was when it attacks, you can cast a target instant or sorcery from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it. So the move here is Dawning Archaic, and then hopefully I have River's Rebuke in my graveyard. I attack with the Dawning Archaic, maybe full send with all the creatures, and then River's Rebuke is in my graveyard. That's a way I can cast River's Rebuke without having to pay to get it back out of the graveyard. And that is an interaction that can potentially be done without any mana at all, because the Archaic will flip from Gyruda, you'll cast it for 0 mana, and then there's no cost to attack and then recast River's Rebuke. So very, very powerful interaction here that has closed out multiple games as well. And then real quick, we'll do the land makeup here. Our mana base is 14 snow-covered islands and 7 snow-covered swamps, so 21 total basic lands. And then we have Cabal Stronghold. This is taps for a generic, but you can pay 3 and then tap it for each basic swamp, add black for each basic swamp. This is a combo with Urborg that makes all of your lands swamps. And then we got the Choked Estuary land, reveal an island or swamp. If you don't, enters tap. Just a dual land that will enter in untapped if you reveal an island or swamp. Gloom Lake, add blue, add a black if you control an island or swamp, which we probably are going to, so another dual land. Underground River, taps for generic, but shocks for 1 to add a blue or a black. Shock dual land. Watery Grave, as it enters, pay 2 life. If you don't, it enters tapped. Another shock dual land. Ancient Tomb, which is also not legal in Brawl, but we got to use it during the Meta Rank Challenge. Taps for 2 generic, deals 2 damage to you. Again, super rampy, great land card. Command Tower, add 1 mana of any mana in your commander color's identity. Multiversal Passage, choose a basic land type, pay 2 life. If you don't, it enters tapped. This land is the chosen type, so just more mana fixing and a shock land. Polluted Delta, pay 1 life, sack this land, search for an island or swamp, put it on the battlefield. It does not come in tapped, the island or swamp, so another shock land that kind of helps you fix the mana you need. Reliquary Tower, no maximum hand size. This is kind of helpful when you got cards like Jin and Gristlebrand and the Summon Leviathan in here, because you're probably going to draw a lot of cards with some of these creatures, and you don't want to be discarding any of those cards. So no maximum hand size. And then last, the Urborg makes all your lands swamps in addition to their other types. Pairs with that Cabal to just generate an insane amount of mana. Alright, well, there is the deck list complete in full. If you like these kinds of videos, let me know. Like and subscribe. I'm in the process of working on a lot of other deck list videos. It does take some work, and I just love to play the game so much. I'd rather be making crazy over-the-top clips and highlights of actual gameplay. But I like making these too, because it kind of gives you my thought process behind why I make the decks the way that I do. So let me know what you think. Try it out. Net deck the heck out of it. I don't care. Go ahead. You don't even have to give me credit for it. Just play the deck, have fun, and it is one of the most fun decks I've ever played by far. Super explosive, super splashy, and it's a big giant demon kraken. Who doesn't want to unleash this monstrosity on people? Probably a good person, that's who, but that I am not. So I will unleash all of the Kraken. Unleash the Kraken! Alright guys, that's it. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.